Okay, so here's the deal. In Colorado, a guy by the name of Gallion, this is his picture here. Holy shnikes, Batman.
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And what he do? And he's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another fun-filled episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, your very own board-certified criminal defense lawyer here at your disposal, serving you and your voracious appetite for the news of the day, analysis, and maybe a comic relief or two. Today, we're reacting to some dickhead trying to kidnap a kid and see what happens when you do that. That's not really comedy, but when you can't make up what people, it's just you can't make this shit up. You just can't believe who people are in our society. And when they run the gamut from you got a billionaire to some urchin on the street, right? And everybody in between. And don't we mostly are, us snooty white wine drinkers fit somewhere in between there? Now, before we get to that, this episode is brought to you by askalawyer.com. AskAlawyer.com. If you have a legal question, go to AskAlawyer.com. They're a very effective way to get a legal opinion from a living, breathing mammal of a lawyer. It's a live lawyers for $49. You can find out if you have a claim, get the next steps, or, they can also tell you, look, don't go down this rabbit hole. You're risking this if you do that. Sometimes that's what we do. That's what we tell people. So go to AskAlawyer.com. You know that my grandma does. She's in the basement trying to find claims against our neighbors because she thinks that the neighbors are sending signals through her head. Grandma's really kind of losing it, guys. She plays with her toes. I'm constantly picking up her toenails. But she's a fan of AskAlawyer.com. And it's a great outfit because they also brought you e-form and e-sign. In fact, we had somebody email us the other day that they used it and they really, really helped them. So go to AskAlawyer.com if you need help, because if it's good enough for Grandma, it's good enough for you, right? Okay, so here's the deal. In Colorado, a guy by the name of Gallion, this is his picture here. Holy shnikes, Batman. He looks like he's been on he looks like he's been out to sea for 6 months and hasn't eaten anything and has been exposed to the sun and maybe he's eaten a little bit of dirt. But evidently he tried to kidnapped some child in Colorado off of a playground. He's a registered sex offender. He attempted to steal a kid from an elementary school. When I was a kid, which is like 3,000 years ago, we didn't really worry about this shit. There was a gal who was kidnapped in my 6th grade class. She was put in the trunk of a car. Now, this gal was extremely smart. She read Nancy Drew books and at the time she was just clever and this was before, now you see the button inside your trunk so you can't really lock somebody in a trunk. But back when this happened, and this would be in the 70s, way back when, right? I'm old. Anyway, way back in the 70s, this is when this happened. She was able to unscrew the taillights of this car and she was able to bust out of the taillight. So she snuck out and this was in the middle of winter in Minnesota, where it's cold. I can't think of anything worse than having your kid abducted. There was a guy down in Texas who went up to the guy after he got sentenced and blew his head off for molesting his child. And guess what? He didn't get any jail time. He got justifiable homicide. We take our kids, and what do we do with our kids? We put them on the bus. We walk to the end of the driveway. The bus stop is right there. And then we say goodbye. We don't know what the hell happens to our kids once they're at school. You put your kids in front of other people, whether it's a babysitter, whether it's a teacher, whether it's a doctor, whatever. How about the gymnastics physician who went to prison not too long ago? He had 170 fucking victims. Jesus Christ. Honestly, how does that happen? And some things are out of our control. You can't put your kid in a mosquito netting and shove them under the stairs and then let them out when they're 30. It just doesn't work like that. My office partner's child had cancer and she died at 8 years old. So you just can't predict what's going to happen to your kids. But you certainly don't think if they're on a school playground that some street urchin named Gallion is going to kidnap your kid. The prosecutors in Colorado plan to drop the charges. What? dropped the charges against the registered sex offender accused of trying to kidnap a child from an elementary school because he was found incompetent to stand trial. Just because you are incompetent doesn't mean that they get off. So what do they do if they drop the charges? He's committed civilly. So that means he's not free to walk around. And this is in Arapahoe County. I've skied Arapahoe Basin. We call it A Basin. It's in Aurora and Littleton, Colorado. I'm not sure what the law is in Colorado, but in Minnesota here, if somebody's found incompetent on certain kinds of charges, the charges aren't just dismissed. If they're misdemeanors, they get dismissed. But if somebody's found, and what does it mean to be found incompetent? That means you don't have the wherewithal to communicate with your lawyer and to formulate a cohesive defense. It means you're unable to, defend yourself. So he's 33 years old, one count of attempted kidnapping after he tried to take an 11-year-old boy during a recess. Flippin' nightmare. And here's a picture of him supposedly on the playground with this kid. So according to the district attorney's office, they said that when a defendant is found mentally incompetent to stand trial and is being civilly committed to a mental hospital, we are legally obligated to dismiss the charges per state law. In Minnesota, they don't do that. If it's a misdemeanor, they do. But if it's a major felony case, like a murder case or attempted kidnapping case like this, they don't just dismiss them. And some of them it's after 3 years. But they have a review hearing every 6 months to see if the defendant can be restored to competency. Notwithstanding that, if somebody's civilly committed, where do they go? They're not out walking around. Certainly not this dude. He needs a makeover, too. So let's take a look. There's a little bit of a video. Every time I look at this guy's face, I just think, oh my God, there's some crime happening somewhere near him. It just looks like mental illness, doesn't it? So let's just watch this horrific video. It's not very long. So you can see in the circle, I suppose that's him. Now he's running towards them. Looks like they can run faster than he can. What the fuck, man? And what is he carrying? Jacket, probably. Now, we don't have any audio, so we don't know what's being said or if anything was being said. Seems like kind of a weak attempted kidnapping type of case anyway, doesn't it? Because he was just, or maybe he's just running after the kids to scare them. Oh, hold on, he's coming back. So that's your attempted kidnapping. It seems a little weak, it's kind of spooky. But I just can't believe people do this shit that they do, So they haven't filed their formal motion to dismiss. But the prosecutor says Galligan's guilt is not the issue for the prosecutors. The alleged crime was captured on video, which we just showed you, that showed the man chasing after and grabbing at a student as other children ran away. It's super scary to watch, blah, 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 especially seeing the perpetrator, the pictures of him. I would be freaked out if that guy touched me. Well, look at him. Oh, God. He just looks awful. He reminds me of the guy on Captain Phillips. Isn't that the one where he says, I am the captain now? He sort of looks like that guy.
Look at me. I'm the captain now.
Cool. Then you can fill out the crew evaluations, file the maintenance reports, negotiate the union contracts.
But the thing about it is, we had a case here, and I've talked about this on the channel before, Jacob Wetterling. That was a kid that went missing years, like 35 years ago or something like that. Long time ago. Oh, more than that even. And he went missing, and we found out later he was abducted by a sex offender. And the cops went by his house, and the guy shot him and then buried him on his property. And then nothing happened for years and years and years until he gets busted with child porn. And he said, and he was looking at life on the child porn. I think he was looking at life. He was looking at a lot of time. And he knew he was going to be spending this time in prison. And he says, I know where his body's buried. And this story that his lawyers, they were federal defenders at the time. Oh my God, it was just such a horrific story because it was such big news here in the community. I'll be happy to never have one of these kinds of cases for the rest of my career. Because it's really hard to defend somebody like that because they're entitled to a defense. But you're starting out in a hole, whether it's to a jury or to a judge, you are starting out in a hole when, what are you arguing about? That you didn't kidnap a kid. That's what you're accused of. Just the sheer nature of the offense itself is absolutely horrific, and it's difficult for most people to even think about. Here's the long and short of it. So it isn't easy to just get this finding of incompetency. You meet with a psychologist, they do a battery of tests. It's not just one test, and you can't really fake the test. They determine whether or not you can defend yourself, whether you can have the capacity to take in something that your lawyer is saying and formulate, communicate with your lawyer about the defense, understanding the procedure, understanding the facts, understand the roles of the various parties. A whole host of things go into this finding of competency or not competency. God, you just look at this guy's fucking picture and your skin crawls, right? It just looks like violent mental illness. And, just because you're mentally ill, it doesn't give you a pass. You can be mentally ill and still be competent. You could be mentally ill and still know right from wrong, right? And so it's not, this whole business that, I'll just plead insanity and act crazy. Well, that doesn't happen. You ever see Primal Fear? That shit never fucking happens. Number one, nobody is. The multiple personalities, I've never seen that. I've seen people crazy. I've seen people, I had one client who thought that Al Gore was sending him signals, and he went to the bank to demand $25,000 from the bank because he was going to go to Washington and fulfill all the dreams of Al Gore and Joe Lieberman. And he demanded a $25,000 cashier's check from the banker, which he did. He gave it to him, then he called the cops because and I'm surprised he was never charged with bank robbery in that case, which I just found amazing. But he was found incompetent. I mean, he was just absolutely cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So, and then we had this Vance Bolter who just murdered, a little state legislator and his wife, tried to murder two others, but they weren't home, thankfully. And he's saying that, he was compelled to do this. He was asked to do this by Tim Walz or whoever. This whole issue of mental health is a real thing, and it's clogging up our system. And here's the thing. Apparently, this isn't his first go around because he was a registered sexy offender. What happens when this guy does this over and over and over again? Well, you can have a designation as not only mentally ill, but mentally ill and dangerous. You remember John Hinckley Jr.? The guy who shot Ronald Reagan? He was just let out not too long ago. He was in prison for lockup. He was found incompetent. He was in lockup for 40 years. When you are looking at a case where there's mental illness involved, it isn't a slam dunk either way. And when you have somebody like this that's super dangerous, they need to be in a locked facility with no chance of getting out. Here's the thing. If you're this repeat offender and you can get a designation as MIND, mentally ill and dangerous, that determines what level of freedom you have. So if you're MIND, you're not getting out, and you're not getting out anytime soon. Dismissing these charges, the prosecutor can bring them back again. They're not dismissed with prejudice. So sometimes cases are dismissed with prejudice, like civil cases. So if I sue Robert, and all of a sudden I say, okay, Robert's a good guy, I'll dismiss his case with prejudice. That means you could never file it again. If I dismiss my case against Robert without prejudice, that means I'm not suing you now, but as long as I bring another one within the statute of limitations, I'm coming after you. And then the mental illness determination tolls the statute of limitations. So there's no statute of limitations issue. There's no issue with regard to his mental illness preventing the state from charging in the future if he's found competent later on. But you're not just let out. And something like this, if he's got a repeat history, he's going to be under lock and key. My point to you is if this is what your babysitter looks like, probably shouldn't go out for the evening. I'll tell you this. When Michael was growing up, I never had a babysitter for him. That wasn't family. You know, I just don't fucking trust anybody these days. And I don't think you should either. You know, you get precious time with your children, right? Very precious time. And, you know, husbands and wives, they need a date night once in a while too. But honestly, get as much family time, as much quality time as you can with your kids while you have them, because their childhood is fleeting. My daughter's now 20 years old. She'll be 20 in September. Where the fuck did her childhood go? And so now I'm an empty nester, you know, one kid in the grave and one kid off to Morocco because she's an incredible student and she's going to college and international affairs. And it's just, you know, it's fleeting. So, and who knows? Maybe Chloe and I will put a couple of little, you know, patter little feet on the floor. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen down the road. But I know that one thing, this guy's not going to babysit my fucking kids. Fuck! I don't like abuse cases when they come to children. These guys are difficult to deal with. And I've had them in the past. I don't have any now, thank God. They're difficult to deal with. Nothing is ever their fault. Everything is difficult. They don't understand right from wrong in terms of their boundaries with you as a lawyer. And the long story short of it is, there's a yuck factor to it that you just are sitting next to somebody that, you know, and the jurors think this too. You sit down, what would you think as a juror when you see this fucking face when you walk in the courtroom? You know, I remember doing a closing argument. The juror, and I'm walking up and down in front of the jury, and this woman was looking at me like get the fuck away from me. And I'm like, okay. You know you're in a hole when you get that kind of reaction from a juror. And my guy was acquitted of one and convicted of another. But anyway, I'm kind of rambling here a little bit. But, you know, take good care of your children. It sucks that, you know, as they get older, you got to let them go. And we can't control their environment. I mean, tell me what a parent did wrong here. Nothing, right? And if this guy would have been successful, how fucking horrible would that be? You know, that would just be absolutely horrible. You put the white wine aside for a second, give your child a hug, and maybe you guys read a book. You know, I had a book of poems that I used to read to my kids. You know, I eat peas with honey. I've done it all my life. They do taste kind of funny, but it keeps them on my knife. And I just I still have that book to this day. It's a book of children's poems. And there's an innocence and a wonderment that children have that these motherfuckers take away. So that's my little speech today about child abuse, abductors, and dickheads like this guy. Just because he has a mental illness doesn't give him a pass. You know, hopefully he's off the street for as long as he's breathing the same air that I breathe. You know, he's a waste of space as far as I can see. Anyway, but that's me. We'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. We have all kinds of merch for you, babies. We have hoodies. We're going to drop the price of the hoodies a little bit because we got a shit ton of hoodies. So they're black and they're white, and they got me on it. They got me pointing. Stop self-snitching. We have T-shirts are going like crazy because I suppose because it's summer. We'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hold the one you love very closely. Whether it's a child, whether it's your sweetheart, like my sweetheart. Don't hold my sweetheart. That's for me. And make sure you subscribe. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. Sign up for Patreon because we got some merch coming for you if you're a paid member. Not if you just are one of the hangers-on. See you next time on Criminal Lawyer Room.
Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away.
23-hour lockdown, police is at my god.